Coming up on this edition of Cogeco News, job numbers are going very well in North Bay and area. Remembering North Bay for those who have moved on to bigger and better things, and a shy dog looking for a home. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Cogeco News. I am Greg Astor-Brooks. Well, North Bay is getting near normal when it comes to employment figures, believe it or not. That would be the finding of the latest report from the Labor Market Group, who does that very thing. A far cry from the statistics in April and May in the region.
Numbers are definitely good, I think, for obvious reasons. The more phases that are opening, the more businesses are getting back on track, getting back to work, bringing back their employees. So I think it's reflective of what we're seeing in the numbers this month.
Are we close to normal?
In terms of job numbers for our report, I would say yes, we're getting back in terms of the numbers that we post on a monthly basis. We've been tracking these numbers for many years now, and in terms of the July numbers, they're definitely on track with what we've seen in the past.
Any changes, any shifting in types of jobs or lessening in certain areas and increases in other areas? Is any of that going on?
No, not per se. What we're seeing is a lot of businesses bringing back their existing employees. Obviously, summer is a different time of the year where construction type businesses and outdoor businesses are back on track. So we're seeing a lot of those types of jobs. Obviously, patios, retail, all of that kind of stuff. So those are the types of jobs we would see on a normal summer months, and that's what we're seeing now.
Do you chart, say, entertainment? Obviously the Capitol Center isn't doing anything right now. The theaters aren't doing anything right now. Restaurants are severely restricted. Do you chart any of those numbers?
We just chart the job numbers in terms of who's hiring and for what positions. Typically, summer's tourism, so yes, definitely patios and more food service and beverage workers are those jobs tend to be posted more with or without COVID. So it's right on track with what we've been seeing in the past.
Do you feel a lot more comfortable now than you did when we did this first interview about 2 or 3 months ago?
Yes, economic recovery is definitely in the works. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, our community's been very supportive of local businesses, and I think it's just great that people are starting to finally get out and support them. And patios are busy, restaurants are busy. It's great to see everyone enjoying the summer.
That takes us to a special Thursday edition of Chamber Chat with Chamber President and Chief Executive Officer Peter Chirico. Chirico hoping for a big pro-Canada business weekend at the end of the month, and he too is naturally happy jobs are getting filled, and the Labor Market Group has discovered some job openings in the region.
Absolutely. We're pleased to see those numbers. Stacey had provided those to us as well, and it's encouraging to see them going the other way rather than just no jobs, no anything sitting there. There was I think over 400 jobs listed right now, vacancies within the Nipissing area. So those are encouraging. It's people will get back to work, and as we open up the economy again, with retail coming back on and restaurants, hotels, those numbers are going to hopefully be filled very shortly, and we'll see some positive growth numbers in our area.
Now, it is good, obviously, that these things are starting to return to normal, but the recovery to recoup lost wages, revenue, income, the GDP, all of these things, it's going to take a long, long time, isn't it?
It's not going to happen overnight, and certainly I think when we look at next year's numbers, that's going to be the telling sign. This year, with government, not bailouts, but assistance that is required during this time to help businesses through this tough period, I think the key is going to be when they do wean themselves off of those, and that the recovery sort of shows what its true colors are, because I think to a certain extent it's a bit masked, and please don't get me wrong, the government support is great. It's needed and it's welcome to a lot of businesses. Most businesses are taking advantage of it, but at some point in time we're going to have to face that reality that we can't continue with ever increasing debt within within Canada. The only good thing this time is that the whole world's in the same predicament rather than just one nation or one economic group. So We'll see how that works out, but the telling, I think, is going to be next year and how businesses come out of it. So that's why it is so important that we do support our local businesses coming out of this, and especially over the next couple of weeks as we stand together. Canada United, one of the programs that the Chamber is partnering with RBC and about 50 other corporate sponsors to make sure that that weekend of the 28th to the 30th of August is dedicated to that. Canada United and shop locally. And we are certainly 100% behind that.
On this day 75 years ago, an American B-29 bomber dropped a bomb that changed the world forever. The atomic bomb was dropped in the Japanese city of Hiroshima, killing over 100,000 and wounding hundreds of thousands more. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Now, that ended the war in the Pacific, and to this day, many debate the merits of using a bomb of that magnitude against civilians.
The atomic bomb ushered in the nuclear age, which was a new age for the planet that we had to deal with, and we still are dealing with to this day. It did have definitely some good uses with power facilities, medicine, things like that, but ultimately the first time it was used in great vengeance against the Japanese to bring an end to the war in the Pacific Theater.
There has always been this debate, John, about using it and not using it. The Americans' train of thought through most historians was that if they invaded the home islands of Japan, there would have been hundreds of thousands of American casualties and likely millions of Japanese casualties. Does that theory hold water?
You have to remember that by May 8th of 1945, the European war was over, and the Canadians had been fighting since 1939 with their British allies, of course, and the Americans came in on December 7th, 1941, actually the following day. So they were war weary as well. We had 6 years. They had at least 4 years before the end of the war, and nobody wanted to continue fighting. And if they could possibly avoid an invasion of Japan at a cost of, was estimated at well over 1 million casualties. You have to remember that the Canadians were remustering as well after May 8th to be sent out to the Pacific Theater. The Americans were remustering as well, and fortunately for them, they didn't have to be deployed.
2 days ago, a massive explosion in Beirut, Lebanon stunned and terrified the world and had millions thinking initially it was an atomic blast. That was not the case. However, reporter Melissa Candelaria out of our Halton Bureau spoke with a Milton resident who told the reporter of a friend who was in Beirut that very day. She has a friend in intensive care. Her family luckily came out relatively unscathed, suffering only property damage.
A blast that has Milton resident Rima Masri worried about her friend who had been visiting a family member at a nearby hospital.
After the blast took place, all the patients were taken out of the hospital to the parking lot of the hospital. The beds and everything, they were taken care of. And even at the emergency room, the emergency room, they were all taken care of in the parking lot of the hospital. But after everything calmed down a little bit, she went missing. And, we were told that she was taken by the Red Cross to another hospital that's outside of Beirut. And she underwent 2 surgeries. And she's now in the intensive care unit.
Masri's friend was one of thousands injured in Tuesday's explosion. She first heard about it after receiving a photo through text from her nephew.
So after I looked at the picture, I said maybe I should go and turn the TV on. So I turned the TV and, people, the TV channels were starting to broadcast live about that explosion. And then immediately, 2 minutes after that, we saw the big, the mushroom explosion that looked like there's an atomic bomb. So I was very, very scared because I saw a mall near Beirut port. There is a mall. I know my sister goes shopping there. So I immediately called her to make sure she was okay.
The rest of her family are luckily safe as well, only to have sustained material damage. But Masri says many of them, including some friends, thought it was the end of the world.
Beirut is actually it's quite a small city, you know, but the explosion was extremely strong. That even if a person lives a bit far from Beirut port where the explosion took place, even if they live a bit far from it, because of the pressure that took place and the blast, people we were told that people were thrown off the balconies, you know, like my sister-in-law, for example, she was in the kitchen. She found herself at the front door of her apartment, you know, because of the blast.
Newcomers to Canada are in a higher risk category for contracting hepatitis C. To talk about that issue and the infection rates, as our series continues on hepatitis C, we hear from Meg Raymore of the AIDS Committee of North Bay and area.
Newcomers to Canada are disproportionately affected by socioeconomic factors that increase their vulnerability to Hep C infection and act as barriers to prevention, screening, and treatment, which can delay care. Newcomers from countries where Hep C is common make up approximately 35% of all current or past HCV infections in Canada. In these newcomers' countries of origin, Hep C is primarily transmitted through unsafe medical and dental practices, for example, through transfusion or reusing unsterilized equipment. Did you know that newcomers are less likely to access the healthcare system than Canadian-born residents? This makes sense for a number of reasons, especially when we think about how healthcare providers are sometimes not trained or skilled in caring for newcomer populations. Newcomers to Canada also face unique challenges and systemic barriers to healthcare and treatment, such as language barriers, cultural barriers, lost social support networks, racism, and even the lack of health insurance coverage. While we may think of these barriers as separate, these do not act alone. They intersect and can profoundly impact access to Hep C care and treatment for newcomers to Canada. This, in addition to different immigration statuses, as well as fear of deportation, may create obstacles to accessing health information and services. All Canadians need health care that is culturally safe. All Canadians need health care that meets their language needs. Newcomers to Canada too often do not have these experiences when accessing the healthcare system. There are a number of policy and service delivery recommendations that can be implemented to work towards better healthcare experiences and outcomes for newcomers to Canada. We must set our healthcare practitioners up for success. One way to do this is by integrating intercultural communication training into healthcare education.
Thank you, Meg. Break time has arrived here on Cogeco News. When we come back, a trip to the museum and pet of the week. After this. Welcome back, everybody. More news now. North Bay not lacking for talented people within city limits, but many have moved on to great successes in many differing fields in many differing countries. The North Bay Museum is celebrating them through a Where Are They Now exhibit. Who says you can't go home again?
I feel very honored to be back and commemorated among all of these incredible people here at this display, and I'm just thrilled that I was chosen to be considered.
For Tamara Bernier Evans, singing, acting, performing on stage, all part of her very lengthy resume. Now she is into television production, although not a lot of TV is being produced during a pandemic. But again, she is happy to be considered among North Bay's greats who have moved on.
To be honest, it started here in North Bay with a Theatre Outreach on Stage program that Marty and Art Southcott put together, which is an amazing program that continues to this day. And the theatre program in our high schools, I was at Chippewa, so run by Rick Blair, was amazing. And I think that this community of theatre is, it produces a ton of interest from kids who participate, and I'm really, really happy that I had that at the outset because that's where the seeds were planted.
Katie Stewart planted her seeds and set roots, so to speak, as a doctor currently in New Zealand. She can't leave because of the pandemic, so her mother spoke on her behalf at the museum.
You're always proud of when your children move forward in life and actually achieve what they want. She did not initially want to be a doctor. It isn't something she wanted in high school, but it sort of developed. And then she went into medicine and went to the Northern School of Medicine here in Sudbury.
Now, why did her daughter choose New Zealand? Well, one reason was something that's very plentiful in North Bay, water.
I once asked her what she was looking for in a place to live, and she says it has to have water, which is what she had in North Bay. She went on canoe trips in Algonquin and Temagami. She's down the French River. I think things like that are things she misses. I think the trees in the fall is something.
Pat Molson is the curator of this exhibit, and she took her intel from 3 different judges who made recommendations about who should be in this display.
They wanted people who'd made a difference in the world. So you see that a lot. We're heavy on environmentalists, on people who invented reading programs, online reading programs, professors of university, doctors, etc. But we did have room for artists and a pilot.
Friday is the official opening day for this exhibit, open until about Christmas time. Our Thursday tradition is here, Pet of the Week time again. This time, Janet Breeden profiles a rather timid dog who will need a lot of TLC when adopted.
We wanted to feature Aya, and one of the greatest things about the Pet of the Week is really showcasing the animals that maybe go unseen at the Humane Society. So as you can see, really timid, really just doesn't understand how to be a dog right now. So we are definitely looking for a really specific home for Aya, something ideally outdoors, and that will give her lots of time to settle in and build that trust. There is possibility that there is a dietary change. So when she came in to us, we obviously had to change from what she was eating prior to. So definitely really encouraging the next adopters to do a lot of the grooming, which is going to absolutely be necessary for her breed, as well as monitoring weight and making sure that she's not too nervous that she is actually eating. We've got her registered as a Siberian Husky right now, so we don't have any paperwork or anything like that for breeding, but definitely Siberian Husky, and she is around 7 years old right now.
And how did Aya end up at the North Bay and District Humane Society?
So Aya came into the North Bay Humane Society as a surrender from the owner, so they had a number of dogs that they could no longer care for, and we were lucky enough to help her out.
She obviously is very, very timid, and you have almost not literally drag her around, but she does not want to move around willingly. How do you can you help the dog overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it definitely looks a little bit rough for what people would normally see as the animals on Pet of the Week here at the Humane Society, but she came from a place where she was basically just tied up for 7 years. So understanding and comprehending that dog walks are good, that petting is good, that grooming, that treats, those things are all positive. She doesn't understand that. So as much as we're being a little bit more forceful, getting her out of her comfort zone, I'm holding her quite tightly on her collar right now just to give her that little bit of reassurance that everything's going to be fine. So vehicles and things like that are really intimidating for Aya right now, so we are looking, like I said, for a really particular home.
And given this dog's shyness, interacting with people, will that be problematic as well?
But not in an aggressive way. So one of the better things that we have to deal with here is dogs that are timid, we can work with that. Aggression makes it very unnerving for a lot of people to take that on. Aya is not aggressive. So we're really encouraging her to come out of her shell. Could take a week, could take a month, could take years. We just don't know. Coming from a place where she, again, was just tied up and not properly socialized with strangers, with people, with other animals, that sort of thing, it's all new to her. So it's kind of a lesson learned every single day.
And speaking of lessons, what kind of lesson are they learning in regards to human traffic at the Humane Society?
Business is booming, actually. We've got a lot of support from the members of the public. The Pet of the Week and the articles that we're putting out, news, media releases, that sort of thing, are really keeping the public apprised as to what's going on. But we are definitely looking for people to still continue to call, book appointments if they're interested in coming in.
Thank you. Another wonderful job from Janet Breeden. Will the weather be wonderful? We'll find out after this.
Weather is brought to you by Canadore College. Great things happen here.
Welcome back, everybody. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Not just in this neighborhood, but all the neighborhoods. Will it stay that way? For the most part, it will. Let's get to the 5-day forecast brought to you by Canadore and Environment Canada. Overnight tonight, it is going to be just a couple of clouds, a little bit of fog, 13 is your low. Mix of sun and cloud on Friday, but mainly sunny and mainly warm in regards to the humidex, up to 28, UV index 7 or high. Clear overnight Friday, 13 again. Saturday, August 8, sunny and a high of 27. Moving on now to Sunday, there is a small chance of a shower. The cloud is there, but only a 30% chance of a shower with a high of 24, overnight low 18. And again, just a small chance of a shower. Monday, slightly higher chance of a shower. 28 and 15 are your temperatures. Moving on to the almanac, just 20 degrees on Wednesday, kind of a chilly midweek, obviously. Low is 12, normals are 24 and 14. Sports will be coming at you right after this.
Sports is brought to you by Tag Construction for all your construction needs.
We're back, everybody. As we told you on Wednesday, the OHL won't be playing until December 1 at the earliest. That means for players, coaches, everybody, it'll be close to a 9-month layoff. What is the club doing to keep their players focused on a game they can't play?
We're not going to be on the ice in September from our standpoint, so you're going to have to look at all sorts of programs. From our team standpoint, we're making sure that we give them all the resources available. We're going to be checking in with guys, obviously, over this time period, and the one thing that we did, we got on with our whole team on Zoom yesterday. We're going to start setting up a couple weekly Zoom calls, so just get some touches, making sure the guys know that there is something to schedule their weeks around, remind them that they are a part of a team and that we got some pretty fun things to work towards when we do get back on the ice.
But there's a physical part, there's also the mental part. People peak and try to get their mindset ready to be organized to begin 3 weeks from today, basically, or Monday. That's not going to happen now, and you start to wonder if people's minds are going to start to wander, if they're going to lose focus and things like that, because that part of the game or part of the preparation is critical.
Absolutely, and the mental side, I think, for everybody through the last 5 months is important. So that's why I think the one thing that we've talked about as a staff is really keep them fresh mentally. We want to challenge them. We don't want to, we don't want to kill them with too much, and we don't want them to be sick of us by the time that we get here. It's important for them to have something in their schedule to remind themselves what they get up in the morning to do, and that's what we want. And so we're going to have a variety of different topics that we're covering. Some will be from the hockey standpoint, where the coaches can implement some systems. I think it's a great opportunity with the NHL on right now to get some great examples of things that the pros are doing.
That is it for this edition of the newscast. More Cogeco News live at 5 on Friday. We'll see you then.